Bob was a truck driver who spent most of his days driving between states, often working late into the night. When he pulled into a truck stop, he would often spend his evenings reading scary stories on Reddit to help pass the time. But one night, things took a dark turn. As he was reading a particularly creepy story about a serial killer, Bob started to feel like someone was watching him. At first, he brushed it off, thinking it was just his imagination playing tricks on him. But as the night wore on, the feeling only grew stronger. Suddenly, Bob heard a loud bang on the side of his truck. He jumped in his seat, his heart racing as he looked out the window. There was no one there. He tried to calm himself down, telling himself it was just the wind or some other harmless explanation. But then, he saw a figure moving towards his truck. It was a person, but something was off about them. They were walking slowly and with a limp, and their face was obscured by the darkness. Bob quickly locked his doors, feeling a sense of unease creeping up on him. The figure approached his truck, and Bob could see that it was a woman. She was pale and her hair was matted, as if she had been out in the rain for hours. She knocked on his window, and Bob could see that her eyes were empty and lifeless. He could feel the hairs on the back of his neck standing up, and he quickly drove away. But the strange occurrences continued. Bob saw more and more people around him, all of them appearing normal at first but then revealing themselves to be ghosts of those who were killed by the serial killer years before. They were all trying to tell him something, but Bob couldn't understand what it was. As the night went on, Bob became more and more paranoid. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being followed, and he was constantly checking his mirrors to make sure that no one was there. But no matter how hard he looked, he could never find anyone. Finally, as the sun started to rise, Bob had had enough. He couldn't take it anymore, and he decided to leave the truck stop and never come back. As he pulled out of the parking lot, he saw a figure standing in the middle of the road. It was the woman from earlier, and she was holding something in her hand. Bob stopped the truck and got out, feeling a sense of dread creeping over him. The woman handed him a piece of paper, and he could see that it was a map. It showed the location of where the serial killer had buried his victims, and there was a note attached that said, "Find them and put us to rest." Bob knew what he had to do. He spent the next few weeks tracking down the burial sites, and with the help of local authorities, he was able to give the victims a proper burial. After that, the strange occurrences stopped, and Bob was able to move on with his life. But he never forgot about that night and the ghosts that had haunted him. He knew that he had played a small part in helping them find peace, and he would always be grateful for that.